Welcome to the shortwave radio channel, and of course, for those of you that have been following me for a long time, you know that this is what started it all. Really intense. We're in 1982, August of 1982, and I've been saving money for this radio for a while. Doing chores and taking out the garbage and so on. And I my father had a raise or a bonus or something at his work, and he looks at me and says, "How much short are you from getting the radio?" And it was on sale at that month in August of '82 on 99 Canadian dollars. And I said, well, I'm about, something like $40 short. And he says, well, how about you go and get it now? And he gives me what, is missing, and I go and get it. And I'm 13 years old. I never had $100 in my pocket. And I'm kind of like, thinking, wow, that's so much money. And I went to Radio Shack, got the radio, brought it home. I remember we had some visit. I had an uncle that was visiting at the time and stayed home for a few days, and he was also intrigued with this radio. So bought it home, took it out of the box, plugged it in, pulled a little telescopic antenna in the back, and started tuning around and reading the manual, which was not a big manual. It was like an 8 or 9 page little manual that just explained the basics, but it did something very important. It explained that this, first of all, would receive the world, but it also showed me where to tune for international broadcasts, where to tune for utility signals like aeronautical signals like amateur radio. So I learned a lot thanks to a very small manual that was extremely well done to explain in a short but very direct way where to tune for the signals you want to hear. And I played with this radio, and the first evening I was just amazed. I was getting signals all over the world. I was, getting Radio Berlin, and I remember Call Israel, I believe, is one of the first in the evening. Radio RSA in South Africa was such an amazement to me to get that. In the following weeks, I learned that, if I put a wire and, put it on the ceiling in my living room where the radio was, I'm getting more signals. And, back then we didn't really talk about RFI, radio frequency interference. Most devices were very quiet. So we didn't have all the interference that we have today. We didn't have the noise that we had today. I mean, that signal strength meter with the wire attached was practically at zero, which is impossible today. And when I had that wire attached, I played with the radio. And, of course, school started in September. But in the weekends, I would play with the radio, and on the evenings. And I remember one evening being in the, when I tell you all to tune where you think you'll never hear anything, I was tuning like late in the evening, maybe 10, 11 p.m. and it was at a high 20 megahertz, and I started going down, and then 21 something, I didn't know it was 21,740 at the time, but it was 21 megahertz. There's this lonely signal. It's the only one in the 21 megahertz range. It's not that strong, but it's good enough to hear what the program's telling me. I spent half an hour listening, and suddenly the ID came through. Radio Australia. You're listening to Radio Australia. And I was like mind blown. I couldn't believe that a little radio with a piece of wire in my living room was getting a station from halfway around the world. And this, of course, I started in August And in October, I had the first try at something, which was mentioned in the manual, how to get QSL cards. And the first station that I wrote, that I heard on this radio, I made a reception report, and it was WYFR, which actually was the transmitters of WRMI today in Okeechobee, Florida. And I still remember the first QSL card. I still remember listening to their mailbag show, which was amazing for me. It was, I'm not alone listening to the world. Other people are doing the same thing that I am. Of course, this was a radio used probably for my first ever Radio Moscow, not only QSL, but I remember they had the mailbag show, and they were answering questions from listeners. And I remember my first question I sent in. I still remember the question, which was, how many Canadians visit the USSR every year? And I got a letter back with a QSL because I had a reception report, and the letter mentioned the dates and the times I need to listen to, and the frequencies, of course, to hear my letter answered, my question answered. Boy, was that so amazing. I mean, the thrill of the time, and being a teenager, I think there's discovery all through our lives. We discover new things all the time. But honestly, I think being a teenager made it kind of amplified the amazement of all that I could hear and all that I could do, and getting all these letters. And I remember sending so many letters that I would receive tons and tons of mail every week. It was almost surprising if there was a day that I didn't have any mail. And boy, this radio opened up the world of shortwave to me in a way that I probably never would have understood if I hadn't lived through it. And this is probably why I'm here today, of course, doing it. So this radio, of course, is still working. You might have seen a couple of weeks ago. This is a picture of my video of a couple of weeks ago where I tuned shortwave on it outside. So it's still working, still in decent shape. Not the best radio in the world, but you know what? Back in the day, there were so many stations. It didn't really matter. You just hear stuff. So kudos to Radio Shack and to the DX100 for starting it all. If you enjoy my videos, please subscribe, give us thumbs up. Thank you for watching.